I'm asking you for a breakdown where you said you will be accountable for every taxpayer dollar. You cannot tell us where any of $25 billion, $4.23. I gotta say, Mr. Hegseth, you said you've got a crack economic team that's looking at the impacts of this war on the American taxpayer, and you can answer this basic question.
I do, but understand what you're insinuating at partisan point.
This is not oversight. This is a Secretary of Defense being asked where the money went and failing to answer. Maggie Goodlander is not asking about some minor accounting error. She is staring at Pete Hegseth and demanding a basic explanation for billions of dollars already spent in a war in Iran. $25 billion, American taxpayer money. And Hegseth, the man who promised accountability for every dollar, cannot give the breakdown. Not now, not in public, not when asked directly. He hides behind paperwork. He hides behind contingency operations. He hides behind vague briefings and political excuses. But the question is simple. Where did the money go? And the next part is where the defense starts to collapse.
Chair, I recognize the gentlelady from New Hampshire, Ms. Goodlander.
I want to thank our witnesses for being here today, and I want to begin by getting right to it, since my time is limited, on this $1.5 trillion budget request. Mr. Hegseth, you testified last year and you testified again today that you will be accountable for every American taxpayer dollar that comes to the department, where it goes and why. That's really important since, as it's been pointed out, the department has failed 8 audits. The department remains on GAO's high-risk list. The Inspector General just last year alone identified billions of dollars that could have been put to better use, and in questioned costs, that is spending that raised red flags. So this is a crisis right now in accountability of where the dollars of the American taxpayers who are in the middle of a cost crisis, where this money is going. I want to ask about your war in Iran. And Mr. Hurst, you testified earlier today that $25 billion has been spent to date. I just want to clarify that that is money, that taxpayer dollars that have been spent already in this war.
$25 reflects the costs of the war, right? So we've already spent the dollars on munitions and things like that. So we're factoring in cost of munitions expended into that total.
So how much of that has gone towards munitions? Does that include the munitions that have been spent to date?
Yeah, that reflects the munitions that have been spent to date and other operational costs.
Can you give us a breakdown of what those costs are?
We'll work to get you guys a product that has a detailed breakdown of those costs.
Yeah, my concern here is, Mr. Hegseth, you've testified repeatedly that you're going to be accountable for each and every American taxpayer dollar that you spend, that you're going to be accountable for the rationale. Here we are 60 days in to your war of choice in Iran, and you can't give us an answer on a breakdown of the basic breakdown of American taxpayer dollars that have been spent in your war of choice? That's a question for Mr. Hurst.
There it is. That is the contradiction. Pete Hegseth wants the money. He wants the power. He wants the war machine fully funded. But the moment Congress asks where the money went, suddenly the answer has to come later. Later, not before the bombs, not before the spending, not before the American taxpayer gets the bill. Later. This is not accountability. This is evasion dressed up in bureaucracy. He testified that he would be accountable for every dollar, where it goes, why it goes there, who spends it, what it buys. But when Goodlander asked for the breakdown of $25 billion, he does not give numbers. He does not give categories. He does not give the public a clear answer. He offers a product. That is not leadership. That is a stall tactic. And Goodlander sees it immediately. She does not let him bury the question in Pentagon language. She drags it back into plain English. Was this budgeted or not? Did you plan for this or not? Can you account for the money or not? That is why this moment matters. Because the scandal is not only the spending, the scandal is the arrogance. They demand trust after failed audits. They demand more money after red flags. They demand obedience from the public while refusing to provide basic answers. And when the pressure gets real, Hegseth does what weak officials always do. He reaches for process. He reaches for delay. He reaches for anything except the truth. But Goodlander is not finished, because now she takes the same failure, the same evasion, and brings it straight to the kitchen table of every American family.
Well, I would love for you to give us this breakdown now and explain to us, was this unbudgeted costs, or was this something the department planned for in advance, since you were appropriated $1 trillion last year?
The department deals with contingency operations all the time within its normal budget.
So this was not budgeted for. My point here is, you know, and General Kane, you've testified to this. We all understand. For you to do your jobs, you need Congress to pass budgets. For us to do our jobs, we need you to give us the details and to be accountable to American taxpayers. And so I got to say, it's an extraordinary dereliction that as you sit here, you cannot account for billions of dollars that have already been spent.
You're briefed on munitions every week. You and your entire staff have every, just so the American public know. It's not as if you don't have munitions levels. You do from us every single week. So you know exactly the numbers you're talking about.
Mr. Hegseth, you have testified that American taxpayers need to know where their dollars are going. And as you sit here today, you can't provide us with a basic answer to the most simple question that you should be able to answer to each and every American taxpayer.
You're asking a question to an answer with an answer you already have.
No, I'm asking you for a breakdown where you said you will be accountable for every taxpayer dollar. You cannot tell us where any of the $25 billion in taxpayer funds that have gone to fund your war of choice in Iran. And I look forward to getting details from our witnesses after this hearing because the American taxpayers need to know. Mr. Hegseth, can I ask you, do you know what the average cost of a gallon of gas was in this country on February 28th?
Well, it depends on where you live. If you live in California, it's $8.
$2.83. Do you know what the average cost of a gallon of gas is today?
Well, much higher in California.
$4.23. I got to say, Mr. Hegseth, you said you've got a crack economic team that's looking at the impacts of this war on the American taxpayer, and you can't answer this basic question. That should shock the conscience of every American. General Kane, I want to come back to something, a really important principle, and my time is limited. You testified to an important and bedrock principle of American law that our service members follow lawful orders and lawful orders only. Is that right? Do you agree with the statement, quote, the military won't follow unlawful orders?
I do.
Mr. Hegseth, do you agree with that statement?
I do, but understand what you're insinuating at a partisan point.
I'm not. I'm actually quoting you directly, Mr. Hegseth, from April 12th, 2016. And I appreciate that on the record, you've clarified this important principle of American law.
Gentlelady's time's expired.
That is the verdict. He could not answer the money question. He could not answer the cost question. And when the questioning turned to lawful orders, he tried to call it partisan. That is what happened. Goodlander asked about accountability. Hegseth gave her delay. She asked about billions. He gave her excuses. She asked about the price Americans are paying. He joked about California. She asked about the bedrock rule that the military must refuse unlawful orders. And suddenly, he wanted to talk about politics. No, that is not politics. That is the line between a constitutional military and a loyalist machine. And this is exactly why the exchange matters. Because Hegseth was not trapped by a trick question. He was trapped by his own promises. He said the taxpayers would know where their dollars were going. Then he sat there and could not explain where billions had gone. He said he believed in lawful orders. Then he immediately treated the question like an attack. That is not strength. That is fear. Fear of the numbers. Fear of the record. Fear of being forced to answer in public. And the whole scene exposes something bigger than one hearing. A government that can spend billions on war but cannot explain the bill is not protecting the public. It is insulting the public. A Secretary of Defense who demands trust but cannot provide answers has not earned authority. He has exposed why he cannot be trusted with it. $25 billion. No clear breakdown. No real accountability. That is not oversight failure. That is a warning.